new study shows more churches closing than opening in America. In the United States of America, a new study by Lifeway Research found that 4,500 churches closed in 2019, while about 3,000 new ones opened up. The study was based on analysis of church data from 34 Protestant denominations and groups. The 34 Protestant denominations account for about 60% of the US-based Protestant denominations. In 2014, there were 3,700 church closures compared with 4,500 in 2019. Scott Thumma, a professor of sociology and director of the Hartford Institute for Religion Research, stated that there are between 320,000 and 350,000 Protestant churches in the United States. Hence, the closure of 4,500 churches represents a loss of 1.4%. The study, published in April, estimated that in the decade ending in 2020, 3,850 to 7,700 houses of worship closed every year in the United States, or that would be about 75 to 150 congregations per week. It also predicted those numbers would double or triple in the wake of the pandemic.
All right, so is this actual good news, or are more Christians just deciding not to have a church? But maybe some of them are becoming even more Christian, and they don't like what the churches are teaching. I know a lot. Like, I follow a lot of. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just trying to be skeptical, because a lot of very, very religious Christians are finding the church scene to be too liberal, too woke, too LGBT friendly. So they're not going to church. Some of them are leaving church because they're losing faith. Some of them don't find the churches to be hypocritical and doing so many things that they don't approve of. But that is, some of them find the churches too conservative, but others find them too liberal. So what do we know what the reason behind all of this is?
So I think that it's kind of almost a moot sort of news, because they're saying there's so many churches, and they're constantly opening and closing a lot of these little ones. And this church joins with that church, and then some other pastor breaks off and starts a church, and then it closes. I mean, I lived for 10 years in the smallest incorporated village in the state I live in, of 532 people. And we had 5, maybe 6 churches, actual structures. And then there were several meetings that people had at their house they considered a church. They're 8 families or whatever. They had several of those, and those were constantly changing. People moved, people changed. They didn't like this guy, or that woman, so they start their own thing. So yeah, 532 people, 6 churches, plus various meetings. Revivals would come to this town. And so yeah, I think that it's somewhat good news, but I think that Christians seem to have any option they want to either start a church, join another church if they don't like their one they're in, do it at home. So I don't think that them not being built is because people are specifically saying we don't like churches. I think that is happening in some ways, but they're going somewhere else. But the fact that there's less of them, I think that might reflect some demographic changes in terms of younger people and things like that. But
yeah, so it's some analysts are saying that the biggest reason for church closing is a decline in church membership. So a recent poll from Gallup found that fewer than 47% of Americans say that they belong to any house of worship. And that's a decline of 70% from 2000, which is crazy within the past 20 years. And I just want to remind everyone that these are numbers from 2019. Okay. So we can't take, the big global event that I'm using coded language for because of YouTube into really, that's not a confounding factor in these numbers as much.
And I've noticed in a lot of places, churches are consolidating, closing parishes because they just don't have enough members, particularly in certain inner city neighborhoods or towns that just, their industry's gone. There's very few people left there. So they've closed churches and now everyone has to go to one, in a central location. So yeah, I think the decline in membership definitely, and the changing demographics as well.
Yeah, they also cite just beyond. Well, there's church membership, and then what makes how the congregation feels the effect of the lost membership is not being able to maintain the building, and they can't do that through regular donations or tithes from members because their membership is declining. But to Armin's ultimate question of, is this because of people leaving their faith, or are they just less interested in the traditional church? That's not completely clear just from this raw data. But I think I'm going to venture a guess that, stopping actual physical attendance is one step on the way out. Except, and like I said before, this is from 2019, so I don't have to take, other things that might prevent you physically being there into my consideration.
So what happens to the buildings? Who's gonna buy them?
Maybe no one. Or maybe they'll sell it to realtors, depending. Like if you were in San Francisco, that property would be worth millions of dollars, like churches have done it. But
people do buy them and live in them. They're converted to other things, rec center, youth center, bar, anything, whatever it is.
In San Francisco, there's a church that has been converted into a roller skate rink, and it's called the Church of Eight Wheels, and it is awesome. You get to go roller skating in the middle of a church.
That's great.
But I think the idea of someone is saying it should be converted into housing, not a bad idea.
Well, I don't think like anybody gets to decide what they become. Whatever the demand is, people can come buy it, and whatever, like if there's funding for more housing, then there will be money to turn it into housing. If not, then other private players will come buy it and turn it into whatever that could make the most money. Or people could just turn them into residentials. And people, I don't know, maybe there would be a zoning problem with that if somebody wants to turn them into residentials. But go.
One thing I've noticed, when a congregation can't maintain a building, a lot of times just another church moves into that building. So there's one down the street from me that's had 3 or 4 different denominations,
right? But
over the past 30 years, because whomever owns the building, or even the church that used to own it doesn't have the congregation, leases it to another
but
congregation, or they buy it.
That happens when one particular sect becomes less popular. But when there's overall less membership, then it will just turn into something else.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say something else. I forgot. I can't wait to see mosques having to sell and turn into something else, because that would be like, if mosques go bankrupt and then one of them turns into something haram, it would be we need to I hope one day Atheist Republic covers the news. X mosque that was forced, like their owners were forced to sell it because of lack of membership. I don't think this is going to happen like in North America, because membership, like there's going to be more migration, and this is something that there will be more mosques, there will be more demand, right? But hopefully one day, I don't know, a couple of decades, when we get to the peak and then we go down the other side, then mosques being sold out because of too much supply of mosques and not enough demand, being turned into bars and strip clubs. Something like, I would like, maybe guys, get Atheist Republic to a point where 20 years from now we have enough financial resources that the eventual demise of Islam in North America will give Atheist Republic the opportunity to buy a mosque and turn it into a bar, library, strip club, and homeless shelter at the same time. Okay, there's going to be 4 sections into the mosque. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The 4 popular answers.
Well, I just wanted to highlight something interesting is that this study was actually done by like a Christian group. And the fact that it studies denominations that represent 60% of Protestant denominations in the United States is significant because most Christians in the United States are Protestants. And so I think I just wanted to put a point on that for a second to kind of highlight what this reflects upon in greater trends, and also how generalizable is this result. Is it reflective of trends in America? Well, I think because it's representing 60% of Protestant denominations within the U.S., it does show a larger trend because that is a larger demographic.
Okay, I just want to address this. Ayan is saying, "You, Armin, you really want to buy a mosque?
Hell yeah!
Have you looked at mosques? They're beautiful. Just because I'm against Islam, I'm not going to deny. I mean, not all of them. Some of them are crap, but most of them are gorgeous. You know, I'm not going to let my anti-Islam views deny the art and the beauty and the design of the design that goes into the building of these mosques. I don't want, again, if any of these mosques or churches, especially the ones that look beautiful, I hope nobody here is in favor of destroying them or anything. These are gorgeous buildings that could be reused for other things, right? Especially Catholic churches. Oh my god, you know, this is what I don't like about Protestant churches. At least Catholic churches, when you see them in the middle of a city, they seem like they're making the entire city look prettier, the old
that's right
medieval look of the stone and everything. Protestant churches, what is this? It's just like another building with a cross on it. You can't even do brainwashing right.
No, they're very grand, and you definitely made the Catholic superiority complex in me jump out. It's yeah, that's right. We are better. We're grandiose. That's culture. Ex-Catholic hours. Are we? Could you imagine the Notre Dame as a nightclub? That would be the sickest club ever.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm biased actually. I think there's too much historical stuff there that needs to be protected. That if it turns into a nightclub, I don't trust the type of people that would show up in an ancient building. And go ahead.
I can tell you without a doubt, there is no way ever the country of France is going to allow Notre Dame to turn into anything but what it is right now.
Right.
And by the way, they're rebuilding it because it had that horrible fire.
Yes.
And the fact that it's so important to them, there was massive consternation and kerfuffle and arguments about changing it, building it back exactly like it was, adding something modern, doing some, No, that was the end of that was the consensus. But
really, not modern. Keep it the way it was. Great.
Yeah. So, just the spire. The rest of it would have been the same, but the spire is what burnt down. But a lot of these mosques, old synagogues, churches, all Hindu temples, all kinds of things, Buddhist temples, they're exquisite pieces of architecture, and you learn a lot about all kinds of eras of where the country you're in or the culture. So absolutely, I think they're super cool. Plus,
Yeah.
I love Islamic tiles, so mosques are my
So
absolute gorgeous.
all churches and mosques that have been built recently, they could be turned into whatever you like. But the ones that have historical values, if there's not enough membership to keep the, then you could turn them into museums. Museums for the ones that have historical value.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe, link in the description below.